overall well-being. However, many of us unknowingly operate under irrational beliefs and cognitive distortions, habitual errors in thinking that distort reality, often reinforcing negativity and self-doubt. Albert Ellis, the founder of Rational Emotive Therapy, identified common irrational beliefs that contribute to emotional suffering, such as the need for external approval, catastrophizing setbacks, or believing past failures define the future. Similarly, cognitive distortions like all or nothing thinking, mind reading, and overgeneralization lead to negative, biased interpretations of events. But why do we have a negativity bias? Why do we see things negatively so easily? Because of our brain's natural tendency. Our brains are naturally wired to focus on and react to what's wrong or threatening in our environment in order to protect us, rather than what's going right, because that is not going to be helpful to protect us. So this tendency is designed to keep us safe by identifying potential dangers and alerting us to take action. And then also the amygdala's role. The amygdala, which is responsible for processing emotions, play a key role in this process. It constantly scans our surroundings for threats, both physically and emotionally. And this rapid assessment helps protect us from immediate harm. However, the harm we perceive is often colored by how we've been conditioned, influenced by past experiences, and shaped by our upbringing and environment and past negative experiences. And then also conditioning and cognitive biases. The stories we've been told about certain areas is dangerous, or you can't talk to those people. The cultural norms we've absorbed and the experiences we've gone through create deeply ingrained cognitive biases. These biases shape how we interpret events, often causing us to focus more on potential dangers and risks, worrying about the future, and remembering negative events more vividly than positive ones. This isn't just about what happens now. It's about how the past is influencing the way we perceive and react to current situations. And then speed versus accuracy. When the brain detects discomfort or emotional distress, it prioritizes speed over accuracy in problem solving. It looks for the quickest solution to resolve discomfort, which often leads to unhelpful reactions like catastrophizing, avoidance, or self-doubt. These responses may be based on past patterns that felt effective at the time but are no longer useful, creating a cycle that reinforces negativity and prevents clarity or growth. There are effects of this negativity bias, and they magnify stress and anxiety. It makes minor issues feel overwhelming, triggering excessive stress and anxiety. It reinforces self-doubt. This bias fuels negative self-beliefs like, I'm not good enough, leading to feelings of inadequacy. It damages relationships. We tend to assume the worst in others' intentions, which can strain relationships and hinder effective communication. And it limits personal growth. Fear of failure caused by this bias may lead us to avoid challenges, missing opportunities for growth and development. Breaking the bias. Recognizing and challenging these cognitive distortions is the first step toward breaking free. By shifting our mindset, we can embrace a more balanced, truthful perspective and open ourselves to greater possibilities, confidence, and resilience. As Alan Locke said, don't believe everything you think. Thoughts are just that, thoughts. So here are some common irrational beliefs or distortions. The first one is all or nothing thinking. Viewing situations in extremes. For example, I failed once, so I am a complete failure. And secondly, catastrophizing. It's exaggerating the impact of negative events. For example, if I make a mistake, my life is ruined. Or mind reading, assuming others think negatively about you without evidence. And then personalization, taking responsibility for things outside your control. For example, my friend is upset, it must be my fault. Or control fallacies, believing you are either powerless or you must control everything. And the should statements, holding yourself or others to rigid, unrealistic standards. For example, I should never make mistakes. And then disqualifying the positive, dismissing achievements or praise as unimportant, because then you can't set yourself up for disappointment and hurt. It's a protective mechanism. And then emotional reasoning, believing something is true because you feel it strongly. Remember, emotions is just a reaction to the thinking patterns. So here are some strategies to overcome irrational thinking. Recognize and reframe these distortions is a key to developing a balanced, growth-oriented mindset. And strategies include journaling, tracking thoughts to identify patterns, challenging assumptions, asking, is this belief objectively true? Seeking feedback, gaining outside perspectives, And then mindfulness, becoming aware of thought distortions in the moment. By questioning irrational beliefs and restructuring distorted thinking, you can break free from limiting patterns and cultivate a mindset that supports resilience, confidence, and emotional well-being. And I want to share with you the power of understanding yourself before shaping your life. Because there's a problem with external influence. Too often people try to build their lives, make decisions, chase success, or form relationships without first understanding themselves. They react to the loudest voices around them. Societal expectations, external validation, or imposed definitions of success. This constant external pressure can lead to a gradual loss of self, where you begin to feel disconnected from your true desires, purposes, and values. But here's the truth about self-knowledge. If you don't deeply understand yourself, your tendencies, patterns, your why, you risk becoming a product of whatever environment you find yourself in. You get caught up in the rush of, I should be doing this, or I need to be that, or I should be this. And slowly you start to lose touch with who you truly are. What if, instead of trying to change who you are, the key to growth is to understand yourself so well that you can work with your authentic self, that you will get into your own rhythm? When you deeply understand your strengths, weaknesses, and values, you move forward with confidence from the person you already are, not trying to force yourself into a life or a version of success that doesn't fit. That's when true and real transformation begins. Because the patterns hold the clues. Reflection is essential for growth. Take a moment to reflect deeply on your life. Ask yourself, what are the recurring patterns in your behavior or responses? Are there certain habits or ways of reacting that stem from past survival strategies, especially those rooted in emotional pain or trauma? Or are they shaped by outside pressures telling you what to be? Often these behaviors, though once helpful, no longer serve us in the present. And they may even be sabotaging your growth without you realizing it. And remember, your past don't define you. While the past has certainly shaped you, it doesn't have the power to define your future. It's a reality past, not a definition of your truth. It reveals where healing and growth are necessary, yes. Your experiences, including past struggles, have given you wisdom and depth, and these are valuable resources for personal transformation. By recognizing patterns that stem from past hurt, you can begin to free yourself from them and create new, empowering responses to life's challenges. I want to share a part of a story of my journey that shaped who I am today. As a child, I often felt small, unheard, and unnoticed, like my voice didn't matter. I vividly recall the image of a child lost in the woods, screaming, but no one hearing. This experience deeply impacted my sense of self-worth and how I engaged with the world. And in response to this deep sense of being overlooked, I developed a survival strategy. I sought significance in the eyes of others, believing that validation from others will fill the emptiness I felt. But here's the thing about survival strategies. They try to fill a void with external approval, when in reality, what's needed is internal healing. The approval I sought from others never truly healed the wound of feeling invisible. Only self-acceptance could do that. As I've gone through my journey of self-awareness, I've learned to recognize when old patterns creep in, as they do, because they never go away. And while those old wounds or behaviors may resurface, and they will, I now have the power to choose how I now will respond. I no longer need to prove my worth because I understand that my significance doesn't come from external validation. It comes from within, from who I already am. This shift has allowed me to embrace freedom. I now know that I am not captive to my past. I am free to choose how I move forward. The beauty of freedom is that it's a choice that grows with time and intentionality. Even when I find myself slipping into old patterns again, I can remind myself that I'm free, and that realization continues to grow as I choose it. So we need to understand our blind spots and personal perspectives. We all have unique habits and ways of thinking that influences how we perceive the world around us. And these patterns are like personal stories that we believe to be true, just like we've heard now earlier. However, if we never challenge or examine the origins of these stories, they can limit us, and they will. Think of our perception as a map of reality. It's our map of reality, whether it's blue, pink, gray. Each person's map is different, based on their individual experiences and beliefs. And these differences in perspective can sometimes cause misunderstandings or conflicts, particularly in relationships. But we need to recognize the limitations of our own view. It's essential to recognize that our beliefs and opinions are just one version of reality based from our perception or their perception. It is shaped, our opinions are shaped by our personal experiences and understanding. To live happier and more fulfilling lives, we must be open to different perspectives and willing to question our own beliefs and where they come from. Only then we can grow and experience a fuller, richer view of the world around us and appreciate the difference. It's just different. It's not threatening. It's just difference, not a threat. So let's see things from different angles. Consider this image. Depending on your perspective, you see either a young woman or an older woman. Can you? Which one do you see? Because life is very similar to this image. Sometimes we are so used to seeing things from one viewpoint, the older woman, for instance, that it's hard to imagine seeing them from another way, the younger woman. Just as you struggle to see either of them, it works the same with life. But there's a power in perspective. Just because we see something a particular way doesn't mean that's the only way, the only truth. The reality we experience is often shaped by our perspective. And in any situation, there are different angles, and what we perceive may not be the full story. And therefore, there's value in open-mindedness. Being open to other viewpoints allows us to see the fuller picture. By challenging our own assumptions and staying open-minded, we gain a deeper understanding of what's really going on. So as a practical exercise to explore your perception, complete the life map activity at the end of the session notes. Use the life map activity to reflect on past experience, such as financial setbacks or other challenges, and consider how these experiences may have shaped irrational or distorted thinking, such as, I am unworthy of love, or I am powerless. And reflecting on these beliefs can provide insight into how they may be influencing your current perspective. And then complete the ABCDE technique, also at the end of the document, to identify negative beliefs formed by activating events. For instance, after experiencing a financial crisis or feeling abandoned during your parents' divorce, you may have developed feelings of powerlessness. And by recognizing these beliefs and their origins, you can start to reframe them and move toward a healthier perspective. And by practicing these tools, you can break free from limiting beliefs, improve your understanding of yourself and others, and cultivate a more open and fulfilling life. And step 4 of applying cognitive restructuring: challenge and reframe negative thoughts. First, we will look at the ABCDE technique of Albert Ellis, but specifically the D part, the debating part. Disputation or debating is the 4th step in cognitive restructuring, where we challenge irrational or limiting beliefs, the thoughts that often trap us in negativity. The goal is to scrutinize these beliefs to see if they hold up to evidence, logic, or usefulness. And by doing so, we create space for healthier, more empowering beliefs. Let's explore the 3 ways to challenge or dispute or debate these beliefs, our triggered beliefs. First up, empirical or scientific debate. Here we seek concrete evidence to support or disprove our negative thoughts. For example, if a presenter believes they are bad at speaking due to a past experience, this belief can be reframed. Acknowledging the setback with empathy helps the person realize that the past doesn't define their abilities today. Setbacks are temporary, and they don't determine worth or potential. The second way of debating is functional debate. This approach explores whether our beliefs serve an unspoken goal. For instance, a presenter might say they are bad at presenting to avoid discomfort. This could stem from deeper insecurities or a belief that they have nothing valuable to offer. By challenging this belief, the root cause of fear can be identified and reframed into a belief that encourages growth and self-empowerment. Recognizing irrational fears as masks for insecurities can be liberating. And thirdly, the logical debate. Here we examine the logic behind our beliefs. Are the negative thoughts grounded in reality or shaped by past patterns? A presenter may realize their belief, I can't give a good presentation, is illogical, because anyone can improve with practice. So recognizing this helps shift the mindset, replacing fear with confidence in the power of progress. Through the process of debating or disputation, you challenge irrational beliefs and replace them with healthier, more rational ones. This is the core of cognitive restructuring, the debating, where negative patterns are not just questioned, but rewired to foster growth, confidence, and success. And we want to explore neuroplasticity in rewiring the brain. Imagine your brain as a city where roads connect places you frequently visit. Learning or repeating behaviors is like building or reinforcing these roads. This process is called neuroplasticity. It is the brain's ability to rewire itself based on what we repeatedly think and do. As Norman Deutsch explains in The Brain That Changes Itself, our brains continuously reshape. And the phrase, neurons that fire together, wire together, shows how repeated thoughts and actions strengthen neural connections. And the question is, are we reinforcing negative patterns? Or are we focusing on empowering, truthful beliefs? The more we engage with a thought or behavior, the stronger the pathway becomes. Neuroplasticity means we're never stuck. Even old habits can change if we consistently choose new patterns. However, because the brain prefers familiar pathways, breaking old patterns is difficult. And we must intentionally build and use new roads for lasting change. So I want to tell you a little bit about a lesson in neuroplasticity called The Story of Two Wolves. An old Indian Cherokee shares a profound lesson with his grandson. He says, there is an internal battle within us all. There is the two wolves that fight inside. One is the negative wolf, anger, envy, sorrow, etc. The other one is the positive wolf, joy, love, and hope. And the grandson wants to know, which wolf wins? And the Cherokee response is simple yet powerful. The one you feed. And this story perfectly captures the essence of neuroplasticity. Our brains don't change randomly. They change in the direction we choose, we feed. So, if we repeatedly reinforce negative thoughts, those pathways strengthen, making negativity our default mode. But if we choose to focus on positive and constructive thoughts and thinking patterns, we build those pathways instead. And over time, the negative wolf weakens and the positive one grows stronger and can win every time. True fulfillment doesn't come from external circumstances or validation. It comes from within, from the decisions we make every day about which thoughts and beliefs we nurture and feed. Viktor Frankl encapsulates this very beautifully as he says, everything can be taken from a person, but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given circumstance. Neuroplasticity means change is always possible, no matter how ingrained the patterns seem. The real question is, which wolf are you feeding? Which thoughts and beliefs are you nurturing and continuing to tolerate and entertain? And which ones are you choosing to challenge and replace? As an action of reflection, to deepen your self-awareness, use the life map activity at the end of the document to reflect on areas where you felt demotivated, stuck, frustrated, powerless. These moments often point to limiting beliefs that need to be challenged, so you can begin feeding the positive wolf, creating a mindset of growth and resilience. And our fifth and final step in applying cognitive restructuring, affirm and reinforce. Renewing your mind is not a one-time event. It is a continuous practice, lifelong. I remind myself of who I am regularly through the symbols. For instance, mine is a chandelier. My purpose, why I switch on to life. And my affirmations, why I'm good enough, that I speak over myself. These help me stay grounded and rooted as I move forward in life. Because without these practices, I risk losing myself, as I did. And losing myself will affect my children. They won't have the mother they deserve and were meant to have. My husband and I, our relationship won't grow as it is meant to. My work and passion won't reach the world in the way it is meant to. True growth begins with understanding who you truly are. It's about knowing where you've been so you can step forward differently. Not as someone else, in a different rhythm, no. Not as the world tells you to be, but as you, in your own rhythm. Understanding yourself and your story is vital for genuine transformation. So in order to do this, to reframe your life, you want to apply the ABCDE technique. It's a powerful tool that can reshape your thoughts. And it will reinforce healthier, more empowering beliefs. So I want to focus on the last two steps of the ABCDE technique, D and E. Disputation, the fourth step, debating, as we spoke about earlier. This step involves debating and challenging irrational beliefs. It's about breaking free from limiting thought patterns. And then the E, but it's also affirmation. Once we debate these limiting beliefs, we replace them with positive, truth-based self-talk. These new affirmations help shift our mindset and bring a sense of empowerment and clarity. When we apply these steps, particularly disputing or debating limiting beliefs and affirming empowering truths, we rewire our internal narratives. This process leads to greater confidence, clarity, and a sense of agency, allowing us to approach life with the renewed perspective. As we consistently use this process, we notice stronger relationships and greater personal and professional effectiveness. So the reframing process, disputing negative beliefs and affirming truth-based thoughts, directly strengthens our self-worth. It aligns with inner child healing, reawakening the authentic self. Consistent practice of affirmations and mindset shifts help reinforce a mindset of possibility, resilience, and empowerment. By affirming and reinforcing healthy beliefs, we create the opportunity to grow, heal, and step into our fullest potential. So as action steps, number 1, complete the life map activity to uncover the origins of your distorted thinking, perceptions, and the deep-seated wounds that shape them. Then secondly, the ABCDE technique. After disputing or debating your limited beliefs, step D, replace them with your empowering affirmations, step E. And then print out your affirmations and place them everywhere, on walls, mirrors, and inside cupboards as constant reminders. Examples are, I'm capable of overcoming challenges, I'm worthy of love and connection. Go and take out all your affirmations that you've already created and use it here. And then thirdly, complete the activity on the inner child healing, the photo technique. Use your affirmations to nurture your inner child. And then print out that picture of your inner child and speak your affirmations over that image, creating a nurturing connection. And then lastly, reframe those negative self-perceptions into truth-based affirmations. For example, reframe, I'm unworthy of love, into I'm deserving of love and support. Speak that over that inner child.